of new COVID-19 infections, there's a proliferation of information available. Much of it is contradictory. Some of it's just plain false. The futurist Graeme Codrington has been combing through some of this information to look for trends and reduce the noise. He joins us now to give us some advice on how you can do the same. Graeme, good evening to you. All right, I mean, obviously the first thing you do is keep Newzroom Afrika just on all the time. You'll only get the truth there. Apart from that, how do you know what's true and what's not? There's a lot of rubbish out there.
Well, you know what, Stephen, this is an absolutely essential question for us to ask. I think we've probably all now got friends or family who have in some way been touched by COVID. I've got a number of friends who have COVID, and a lot of people are looking for information. And when you start to look for information, you just realize how much noise there is out there. You know, what pills should you take? How long is it going to be in my system? Am I infectious? Where do I get a test? And so all of these questions exist. And first piece of advice before we talk about exactly how to sift out the truth from the noise is to just think about it. You know, South Africa is at a crucial stage at the moment. Things are about to take off, I think, in terms of some significant numbers. And if you get COVID, you need to know who you are going to listen to. You need to know who you trust, whose advice you will take. Because if you just allow all the voices to talk to you, you know, you'll have 100 opinions and you'll just be confused. So work out now who you're going to trust. Work out now what sources you're going to have a look at to make sure that you get the information you need when you need it and when you need it in time. But Stephen, let's get to the question, because I think there are 5 things that you can do to sift out, I don't want to call it fake news, although a lot of it is deliberately designed. I don't know why people would do this, but deliberately designed to deceive. A lot of it is just people who are well-meaning, but they're passing along information that's either outdated or incorrect. So here's 5 things that you can do. The first thing is, if somebody gives you a piece of information, check the source. Look at the website. You know, make sure it's a reputable website. As you say, and you're not wrong. You know, go to Newzroom Afrika. Go to a place that you trust. Look at the journalist as well, not just the place itself, but the journalist. Even do a search on their credentials to see who this person is. So the first thing is check the source. Make sure that it's reputable. Take some information, a sentence or two from what you've been given by somebody, and use a fact-checking service. So things like Snopes or Africa Check or factcheck.org. There are a lot of websites, and some of them specifically focused at COVID information. Copy a sentence, paste it into there, and just see if it comes up as a known fake piece of information. The fact checkers are very good at helping us there. The third thing you can do is check the dates. I've had things shared with me that are from 2013 and from 2008. And, you know, it immediately raises a huge question mark if it's such an out-of-date piece of information. Why are people resharing it now? Fourth thing you can do is, if there's an image, if there's a picture that's come along, do a picture search. Now, this you have to do a quick search on the internet to work out how to do that, but you save the image, put it into what is called a reverse image search, and it will try and track down where that image first appeared. And that's often a sign that you've got a piece of fake information, is they're using an incorrect image out of context. And the final thing, Stephen, is to check your own bias. You know, our brains are programmed to believe the things we already believe. And just check, if you already believed what somebody was sharing with you, put a question mark to say, am I sure that I'm not just reinforcing an incorrect belief I have? If you've been challenged with something that somebody sent that's changed your mind a little bit, that's actually a good sign that maybe this is information you should take seriously.
One of the things that has really struck me, Graeme, and it goes to the bias of what we sort of want to believe, it's also who gives us the information. And the amount of stuff that comes through on WhatsApp nowadays that is often just rubbish, unfortunately. But because it comes from your friend or your parent or your uncle or whoever it is, you want to believe it. You actually have to test that stuff more carefully.
Absolutely. And, we're not saying that people are doing this maliciously or with bad intent. Your mother, your aunt really wants to help you. They want you to be healthy and happy. And so they will pass on information that they feel is helpful. Don't pass on anything unless you've taken the time to do those 5 things I was talking about. If you don't have the time to verify that the information is truthful, then you also shouldn't take the time to share it. And if everybody did that, we'd have a lot less noise in our WhatsApp groups and a lot more valuable and truthful information flowing around.
Do you think humans are always going to be a little susceptible to stuff that sounds interesting? It's sort of fun and interesting, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I mean, it's one of the sort of problems with being human. We always like that stuff.
Yes, and if it's just a frivolous piece of information that doesn't really change your life, there's probably no real harm in it. The problem is when it comes down to something that relates to health or to our social system. Most recently, I think there's been lots of debates and arguments about whether we should be wearing masks in public. And just some of the information going around is just it's more than nonsense. It's actually dangerous. And so people then even politicize some of this information and sort of force you into a box saying, well, if you believe that, then you must believe a whole lot of other things about politics and religion and all sorts. I think, sadly, that's just the human way of dealing with things we find uncomfortable, that we find difficult, that we find scary. And what we really need right now is we need the truth, because that's what's going to help us get through this pandemic.
Graeme Codrington.